Hi everyone, it's William with the 1921 Grand Duke Dmitri Diary series. I'm back after skipping a day. Just had a really busy day yesterday. And we're up to part 2 of the 31st of March, 1921. And I'm actually a little embarrassed today of saying last time that I was a little embarrassed of what Dmitri would be talking about in this particular section of the long 31st of March diary entry, because that was really going too far. I was in a strange state of mind that evening anyway, but if there's one thing I really hate, it's conspiracy theories. I just I can't say that all the people who believe in conspiracy theories are simply simple-minded, but because I know some people who are not at all simple-minded who believe in them, but I just personally find nothing appealing about any of that. So the fact that Dmitri brings one up was kind of set me off a little. But anyway, another thing that I dislike extremely is anti-Semitism, and of course, Europe was rife with anti-Semitism at that time, and particularly among the certain parts, by no means all, but certain parts of the Russian immigration. The people that had been on the far right before the revolution, and some of the people that Dmitri saw in Berlin, as you know. And so I've been kind of sensitive to any indication of that, even though I know that that wasn't Dmitri's thing, and that he would be very strongly anti-Nazi during the Second World War. Anyway, I suppose if by some weird metaphysical twist Dmitri was actually writing about me, he would probably find more that embarrassed him about me than I find about him. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We all have that side of ourselves. So here's the recap for part 1 of the 31st of March. He's just lamenting the failure of the uprising in Kronstadt. It had now, definitively been snuffed out by the Soviets. And he rather unjustly, I would say, ties it to the fact that it was a Kerenskiite kind of movement. I don't know why he thinks that was bad in particular. And he expresses doubt that it will inspire further uprisings, and he's right about that. So that's pretty much what he was talking about. As for our cast, this time, like last time, we don't really have one. We're just talking about groups of people. And okay, let me see. So this is Thursday, and Dmitri is writing it at the Riviera Palace Hotel, room number 66 in Monte, Carlo. All right, here we go. Speaking of the unsuccessful conclusion of the Kronstadt uprising, it is very interesting to take note of a few facts about the uprising itself and how they doomed the anti-Bolshevik outbreaks in Petrograd and then the Kronstadt uprising itself to failure. As it now turns out, the movement first began in Petrograd and Moscow. With respect to Moscow, I don't know how it happened there and under what banner it was carried out, but in Petrograd it began as a labor movement. And the most interesting thing about it is that the workers' slogans were, "Long live the Soviets, down with the Jews." Hence, the movement was directed against the Jewish commissars and not at all against the communist regime. When that became known here in Paris, many began to fear that that anti-Jewish component of the movement would scare France and America away from lending the assistance they'd planned to provide to the rebels by sending them food and clothes. And surprising though it may seem, that's exactly what happened. The stockpile of supplies waiting in Finland never reached starving Kronstadt, and it could not hold out. All of this, of course, is completely unverified, but it doesn't hurt to think about it. And I repeat, if there's even a grain of truth in it, we find behind it an organization called the Black Hand, in quotation marks, that interferes with any movement that has the character of an anti-Jewish action. It's difficult to say what will happen now, but the sailors are unlikely to overthrow the Soviet government. All right, so there you go. Not exactly shocking stuff that he has to say. And in fact, he's being a little more polite about it than he has been at sometimes in the past, because he's not using what was sort of the predominant racial slur when one talked about Jews. He's using the Russian word "evrei," which just means Hebrew or Jewish. It was the preferred term, not disrespectful, and that's what he's using. And we can, we recall in one of the prior diary entries, and one of the videos I did for those, that he was really quite appalled to hear about the anti-Jewish element in not just the Kronstadt uprising, as he says, but also in the labor uprising in Petrograd that preceded it. Yeah, I don't like that he says Jewish commissars, because, the commissars were not, there were Jewish commissars and there were not Jewish commissars. But again, he's probably just saying what the rebels were, what their conception of what they were fighting against and what they wanted to fight against. And he quite rightly points out that it's interesting that they're not saying they're anti-communist. He doesn't use the word Bolshevik. He does use the word communist. They were anti-Bolshevik, but not anti-communist. So the thing about saying that the movement is directed against the Jewish commissars is that there were these horrific pogroms, and those people who were caught up and slaughtered in the pogroms were not commissars. They were just ordinary people trying to get on with their life. And so, yeah, we're not talking about just a sort of specific targeting of people in the government who were commissars. We're talking about Jews in general. Okay, anyway, let's see. So this idea that the people are not anti-communist is something that would be processed and realized and acknowledged by the Young Russia Party that Dmitri would be a part of, and that they couldn't establish the party on a platform of anti-communism per se. They talked about socialism. They said that what they wanted was Soviet monarchy, but not Bolshevism. So they were observing this, the people who would be involved in that movement, including Dmitri. They were observing that they weren't really going to get anywhere by appealing to the Russian people on the basis of anti-communism, and they did not want the anti-Semitism. That wasn't what, unlike some of the other groups, that wasn't what they were all about. So it's interesting that Dmitri talks about America and France as being the two countries that were scared off by this anti-Semitic element. And he doesn't mention Britain. I'm not surprised that America and France would feel that way, but I'm surprised that he doesn't mention Britain, although maybe Britain just across the board had decided not to support the Kronstadt uprising. I don't know. I really don't. When he says this is unverified, after just telling us what happened and saying, well, this is how it turned out, the supplies didn't reach Kronstadt, then he says, all this is unverified. So I think what he means is about whether it's true that the anti-Jewish nature of the movement interfered with and was the main reason why those supplies didn't reach Kronstadt. And that's when he brings up the conspiracy theory that just makes me roll my eyes, which is, you know, the idea that there's this conspiracy. Of course, you're familiar with it. It comes down to the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which was practically the Bible of some of these right-wing groups in, you know, amongst Russian emigres, and also groups like Aufbau and German right-wing groups at that time. So the Protocols of the Elders of Zion was this horrific forged text proclaim or purporting to be the secret plans, to reveal the secret plans of the Elders of Zion, the Jews to rule the world, both through capitalism and through communism, and so on and so forth. And Dmitri has referred in the past to this idea. I don't think he ever said black hand, but he has in earlier diary entries used the black forces. So the black hand or black forces were basically Jews and Freemasons. And so he's saying here, if there's even a grain of truth in it, then the black hand must be behind it, and that they interfere in any movement that has an anti-Jewish character. So, yeah, okay. I mean, that's what I was referring to when I said it embarrassed me a little bit, because Dmitri was not given to conspiracy theories at all. In fact, you will find in 1920 and 1919 diary entries that he really just rolls his eyes that the conspiracy at the conspiracy theories that other people come up with and talk about, that there's some kind of super transmitter on top of the Eiffel Tower and all kinds of stuff like this. And yeah, he just holds it in contempt. But he can't quite get over this idea that, oh yeah, maybe there's something to this whole idea of the black hand or the black forces. Yeah, okay, whatever. As long as it wasn't sort of a guiding idea for him. It's unfortunate, but it didn't really influence his behavior or the way he treated people or anything like that. So anyway, okay, next time, in part 3 of the long diary entry, we're going to have some really, really interesting text and sort of explosive in a different way. We're going to find out what really happened that just changed everything for Dmitri. So that will be interesting. It may take a couple of videos to get through that material, but you'll definitely want to hear what he has to say about that, because it leads us right directly into what happened next with Coco. So, thank you for your patience with me as we go along with this. And I think I said last time that one of the standard features of any human being is that they contradict themselves 5 times a day. And, you know, even though I've read all the diaries before, I'm definitely, you know, on this journey with them. So, yeah, anyway, I hope to see you next time. Bye.